Okay, Adam, tell me about this energy and gold and bamboo and...
Okay, well, the concept is a yarn, a knitting yarn, that contains energy. Basically, energy that healers from all around the world use to balance people's energy.
How is that possible?
Healing's something very, very ancient. It's really part of ancient wisdom. It's always been practiced, be it in Egypt, anywhere you can think of, even in India, of course, especially. It's called prana, it's called chi, it's called different things in different places, but essentially always the same thing. The idea being we're all made of energy, everything is energy, and you can work on somebody's energy and balance it out. When our energy's good, we feel great, we feel happy, we're healthy, and then when it's messed up, we feel terrible, feel stressed, we feel ill, and we feel very, very tired. It's just that really in the last 200 or 300 years, science has negated the idea of energy, and we think that you can only get better or feel better with pills. And although pills can be great, it's not not disregarding that, there are other factors to the equation. There's a lot of scientific proof to back that up too. But I had no idea about any of this a few years ago, and then I met somebody really fascinating who did an energetic healing on me, and I felt so much better afterwards and so much calmer, because I've always battled with stress. I'm quite an anxious person, and then I realised there was so much more to it than I'd imagined.
And this person, you met him where? In India or in
No,
Paris?
in Paris. In Paris.
Huh.
Actually, an Australian woman that is a healer. She comes here regularly and teaches people how to work with energy. And she just worked on me a little bit, and it was quite astonishing. I thought, wow, now I have to really review everything I thought up until this point.
And then the actual yarn.
The yarn it's got a carbon component running through it, mixed with bamboo and cashmere, but it's into the carbon that we've imprinted this energy. It's something that's never been done before, and it's quite out there, but I'd read some reports by scientists from around the world who are working in this field, especially one eminent scientist called William Tiller, Dr. Tiller, from Stanford University, and he'd managed to imprint energy into what he calls transmitter device, and he'd imprinted the energetic intention of changing the pH value of water, and then in laboratory conditions this little transmitter device had managed to change the pH of water, which in theory is completely impossible, and yet it worked again and again. And what he was showing, that you could imprint energy into an object, into something, which would then interact with water. When I read that, I thought, well, taking into account that we're made 78% water, if you could put energy into a garment and then put that garment on a person, in theory it would work on the water content of them, on their energy field, and could affect them, not necessarily to change their pH, but it depends on the intention that's imprinted.
Wow.
And that was the starting point. So I contacted this person from Stanford. I said, okay, I'm a fashion designer, I know nothing about science, but I'm thinking this ought to work. And he said, yeah, that's a good idea. This is, if I were you, this is how I would approach it. And that's when I started thinking about how I was actually going to make it happen.
And when was that? How long ago?
In 2011. It's taken me 2 years to get to this point.
This is fantastic. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
I think it's, and people always go, where's fashion going in the future? This is it.
Well,
to make it something that's actually to change your body energy, or like...
It's about something that's it's something profound. It's about meaning, and it's something that's actually in the fibre. It's not decorative. My trademark before was very intricate knits and weaving techniques or handcrafting, and I always love things what we call labours of love, that are labour intensive, that people have really put their heart into. In a sense, this isn't so far away, but it's intangible. You don't see it, but it's there. You feel it, and I'm more excited today about what you feel than what you see. And I think it's more deep, and I think it can help people more.
And you've tested it, like, did you little... So how did that go? And I mean, what was the...
Well, it seems that the experience changes depending on the person, because we're all different, and our energetic imbalances are all different. For me, it really calms me down. And I meditate most days. It really, really helps me to meditate. But when
I've never been able to succeed at meditating.
it's a discipline, and we don't. Most of us don't really have that discipline. If we were born in India, it would be part of our makeup. We'd think it was completely normal, and we would strive towards it. I know people who meditate every day. For me, it's a real discipline. I have to really work on it. But I find that when I put a sweater on, the process of going into meditation is much, much more rapid. Maybe instead of taking me 10 minutes to really get down to a relaxed state, maybe 3.
Wow.
So that's how it works for me. And if I can't, and I also have a scarf that I had made. It's a kind of prototype, so I'll be doing scarves, like pashmina type wraps.
Which is a great idea.
Yeah. And when I can't sleep, when I wake up at 4 in the morning and oh my God, now I've got to do that, and what's going to happen with this, that, I take it out and put it over on top of my quilt and get under it. And I can actually feel myself going down into sleep. It really, really is effective for me, yeah.
And what about the gold?
The gold is, well, gold's really great for healing. The Egyptians used to actually heal people with gold, and today there's lots of people treating cancer, all kinds of problems with golden compounds. But for me, it was more the idea of something precious and beautiful. And I like the idea that I found somebody who could spin 24 karat gold into a knitting yarn, which is really incredible. And I thought that would be beautiful, just to have a concealed finishing that only you know that you have it. And it's on the inside of the sweater. But it's precious and it's there and it's for you. And also...
So the prices, are they really elevated?
No. I've worked on that. I wanted it to be something that's democratic. It's 350 euros for a sweater.
Great.
It's got to be a price that enough people can afford to pay. But at the same time, the materials are expensive, and it's made in Italy.
Sure.
It's beautifully done, and the packaging's specific.
So you buy it through the website?
Yeah.
What is the address?
It's www.yarnlightcollective.com.
And are there more people involved with you, or how big is the collective?
It's actually all the people who've come to me offering support and help. When I started contacting people, lots of people said, "Oh, wait, that's so interesting," and were intrigued, and they came forward and offered help. All kinds, be it advice or actually physically helping me. There's the healers who came forward and helped to imprint and send their energy into the yarn. And now there are actresses and people who are wearing the sweaters, talking about it, and that's the collective, because at the end of the day we can't do anything on our own. We're dependent on everybody else, and it's about community and it's about connection. That's what the project's about. We have to connect with other people to be happy and to make things happen, and this is about connection.
And when did it start?
I just launched it a month ago.
Ah, it's great. I love the concept.
Thank
I think
you.
it's like so unique and, like you said, profound. Yeah. Because people are always saying, "What's the future? What's the future? What's the future?" That is the future.
I hope so. I hope so. It's very strange to work on this project because there's no benchmarks, nothing like it's ever been done before, and it's quite hard for people to say to me, "Oh, you should do it like this," or business people to say, "Oh, this will be your business model," because there is no model for this. So it's just trying to follow my intuition and seeing how I feel I should take it. But I've had some fabulous surprises since the very beginning when I decided to do this. Who was going to actually make me this yarn? Because I come from a luxury fashion background. I wanted something beautiful, and also most holistic things, let's say, are not very attractive. If you go to a well-being trade fair or a salon or whatever, people walking around and it's not very sexy and it's not very appealing, and it's a shame. And it's almost as if you are interested in spirituality or in energy work, then you won't be interested in fashion, and something that would be beautiful and luxurious is not for you. And I wanted to really make a bridge and say, yeah, something can be holistic and cool and beautiful and a nice quality. And so it's bringing together those sides of it. So I needed someone who could make me a really fabulous yarn. So I went to a company called Linea Pugh, an Italian yarn spinner.
Yes, I've heard of them.
They're the best, most forward-thinking yarn spinners in the world. They were the ones who invented all the stretch yarns for Asdin Lyre in the 1980s.
Wow.
He said, what I need is a really fabulous yarn that can be stretchy like a corset. And they said, okay, we'll do that. So I went to them in 2011 and said, what I want is a yarn into which I can imprint healing energy. And right. And then I explained the concept. They said, can you give us 10 minutes? And then they had a think, and I came back and they said, that is so fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Tell us what you need, we'll do it. We'll do it. It's so crazy, it's genius, so let's do it and see. Let's see what happens. And that's what we did.
Did you work with them like back when you were doing Dior?
Yeah, I did. I've always worked with them. I've always known them. That's when I took the appointment with them. They assumed I was going to ask them for a beautiful yarn to make lace knits with or something. So they weren't expecting the holistic ingredient. But they saw the potential and they saw, where that could be going.
So when you're buying it on the website, is this more for individuals than for shops?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
Initially, I want to sell directly to individuals. It's also about intention. Intention is really, really important. What we intend is what becomes our reality. I firmly believe that. And
Definitely, visualization.
yeah. And this isn't even about getting new agey. It's just really simple. I think everybody would agree. Somebody who's sick but really wants to get better is much more likely to than somebody who says, right, I've had it, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
And in many things, people have always astonished me, people who really believe that they're going to get to their goals. They always seem to, no matter how improbable. I've always been really, really impressed by people like that. And this is people just creating their reality through intention. So when it's really important to me that somebody who chooses to have one of these sweaters, they buy it on the internet and they choose to have it, to have that experience. They want that. They haven't wandered into a shop and thought, oh, I'm so bored, what am I going to buy? And someone said, oh, you might as well have that, and it's in the sale and it's fallen on the floor, but it's all in a heap and we pick it up and oh, we'll buy that because we don't know what else to buy. This is much more important. It's important to me anyway. It'd be an intention. But I want that. I'm going to try it. I'll see what it does for me. But or I'm going to buy it for somebody because I'd really like somebody else to have that experience, and I will give them that experience, offer them that experience. But it's an intention.
So the scarves are obviously unisex. Well,
Yeah.
I hate that word, unisex. But the sweaters as
No,
well?
no. For the moment, it's just for women.
And do you consider, like, in the future, maybe...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want to make
and also
men's sweaters.
lingerie and things.
Well, the second model that will
Or
be coming out soon
sleepwear.
is a sweater for sleep. Because
Yeah,
when we're
it's
sleeping,
logical, no?
yeah, absolutely. And when you sleep, that's when your body's rejuvenating. It's when your energy's being resourced, and also it's when you're vulnerable. And to have your energy balanced and protected while you're sleeping would be fabulous.
I'm
And-
sure you're going to get orders from spas and things, too,
Well,
no?
there's been interest already. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems logical, too.
Yeah. I hope so.
Wow, I love it. So is there something I should ask you I haven't asked? Something you want to say about it?
More or less covered. I would say that people would say, well, how do we know if it worked out? You know, what proof have you got? And I would say that when I started the project, when I had the yarn, I thought, right, there's two ways to go about this. On the one hand, we'll go to some scientists and we'll ask them to test it. And on the other hand, we'll send out sweaters to people around the world, not my friends, just people, contacts,
Right.
or people with contact, and say, okay, I've got this project, we'll put healing into a sweater, would you wear it? Tell us if you feel anything. And not just people who are used to meditating, all kinds of people. So that's what I did. So on the one hand, we had different scientific tests done, really amazing. To say that, for example, there's in an industrial laboratory that tests stuff like fluorescent lights and computer screens, etc., for electromagnetic pollution, we asked them to test the knitting and see if there was a shielding effect, if it would reduce for the wearer the amount of electromagnetic pollution that was coming to them, that they would be absorbing. And I sent them two samples. One was, both were exactly the same knitting, the same structure, everything the same. But one was just the yarn, and the other one was with this energetic imprint. And the one without the imprint reduced by about 33% the electromagnetic waves at certain frequencies. The other one with the imprint at exactly the same frequencies reduced by 63%, almost double.
Wow.
I was so surprised and astonished. I expected a difference, but not so radical. I phoned the scientist, the head of the laboratory, and said, okay, if I tell you this is exactly the same knit, the same fabric, what would you say? And he said, I'd say that's not science, so there's a difference. And I said, well, not really, it's just in one of them there's a kind of a special finish on the knitting. And he said, well, there you go. And I said, thank you very much. And then I thought, and what if he made a mistake? What if, there's something I've not accounted for? So we had it all done again. I had him retest the whole thing from scratch just to be sure, and we got the same results. And then I felt confident. I thought, right, okay, so we've got something. Then I sent another sample to the professor from Stanford University, and he's created an amazing machine that can test for the presence of what's called subtle energy, healing energy, if you like. And this is something before could not be tested. But if you think that until the end of the 19th century, people didn't acknowledge that radiation existed, let alone test for it. Yet today we're quite aware that radiation is everywhere. They can test it right down to infinite amounts. And we find that completely normal. In Japan, people can just buy it in the supermarket and go and test the radiation level of their home. And I think in the future, it will be the same for subtle energy. Today it seems really out there and crazy. This guy's invented a machine. I think it'll be standard one day. Anyway, he tested a sweater in laboratory conditions at Stanford, and for him, without a shadow of a doubt, there's subtle energy imprinted in the sweater. And I've got the report. So that was really, really rewarding. And then at the same time, the test subjects, our guinea pigs, started sending back their reports. And from all over the world, people were having similar experiences. Each person different, but there was, for example, I had people in Japan, America, South America, and I think Spain, who've all, for different reasons in their life, had to do public speaking. And they all put their sweaters on, thinking, well, if it makes you feel protected, it makes you feel centered and calm, that would be perfect. And they all said it really, really helped. They felt stronger, more centered, and more confident.
Wow.
And I hadn't said to anybody, oh, if you do public speaking, why not put your sweater on? This was people who thought of it alone. And that was really interesting, seeing the correlation. And quite a few people who in their lives have to do long-haul flights for work, for example. There was a fashion designer from Japan and an actress from London and somebody from, I can't even remember. And they all decided, oh, well, I'll put the sweater on to go on my flight. And everybody said they had a much better experience. They didn't get headaches, they didn't feel so crappy in the plane. When they arrived, they didn't get such bad jet lag, and they slept well. And that was really rewarding to me, because I'd not even thought of course, planes is where there's the most terrible amount of electromagnetic pollution, terrible in planes. Apparently the instance of cancers in, this I haven't verified, but apparently in air crews and pilots is very, very high, because they're subjected to it.
God, you're going to have to be dressing them too.
Well, I'd like to be doing the blankets,
yes,
which are mostly horrible, but it would be lovely to do some beautiful protective blankets that would also be rebalancing people's energy while they're taking a long-haul flight. That's one of my projects too, because I actually think it'd be really useful. Anyway, so so on the one hand, I had people who also, some of the test subjects who are used to meditating as part of their lives, who put the sweaters on, and like me, they found that it took them into a meditative state much, much faster. And for some people, they had a meditative experience that was stronger than anything they'd had before, they say. So that was marvellous too. And nobody said, oh, I didn't feel anything. Some people just said, I just felt calmer. And a few people said, well, not many, but a few said, I just felt exhausted at first and I had to just go to bed. But if somebody's energy is very, very, very low, and then they start to have it balanced out and it starts to come out, their body just says to them, you need to have a sleep. And quite often somebody who has an energetic healing or a deep tissue massage or something will feel exhausted afterwards because something's really shifted for them. So I think we were getting that kind of effect too.
God, it's brilliant. There's endless possibilities. How about like people that are around microwave ovens?
Yes, I mean, from our research, it doesn't work for the same at every frequency. These things vary. But there's the shielding effect, but then there's the energetic balancing effect. And I'm cautious about the protection. It's there. We've proved it. People feel it. But I'm not saying we have to be afraid and we should all go around, because then we'll be in suits of armour or something. It's not practical. It's not possible. I'm saying this is part of the equation. But I'm certainly not fear-mongering, saying, oh, there's pollution out there. It's very, very dangerous. I'm just saying,
right.
this is something to be aware of in our lives. And also when we can become aware of it, then we can start wishing for it to change. And when enough people decide that's enough, then we'll do something of the fact we've got 50 Wi-Fi connections going through our apartments, and we'll say that's enough of that.
And one other question is because of, is there a color restriction? Does it come in black?
Yeah, of course it comes in black. Black's a really good colour because all colours have got a significance. As again, going back to ancient Egypt, they used to they believe very strongly in colour therapy, or chromotherapy as it's called, and they would create big rooms in temples with coloured glass windows, so the sunlight coming through would make a room of bright green or a room of bright red, and depending on people's symptoms, depending on their energetic imbalances, they would put them in a bath of whatever coloured light, and they knew that it would change. And so yeah, colours have got their signification, although all the sweaters have been imprinted with the same energetic imprint. It's in the carbon. So at the end of the day, it's what the person needs to get from it they'll get. But the black's really good because it's protective, and it's good for self-analysis when you want to go inside yourself and see what you need and what. Just questioning yourself a little bit.
God, I love it. Thank you.
Well, there's one thing you didn't ask, and I wanted to say,
Okay.
that's important. Another part of the story that's important to me. It's not just about a miracle sweater that you put on and feel great. That's part of it. I'm not saying it's a miracle, but it's a tool. But we've developed a little fold-out exercise. We call it the wearer guide, and it's for getting the most out of your sweater. And it's delivered with each sweater. So when you put your sweater on, it just shows you very simply how to sit down and with your mind, just calm your mind and do a very short meditation for a few minutes, but just to feel yourself centering and to get your energy calm and to get all that craziness out of your mind with your thoughts going bonkers. And just allow yourself to be in contact with that energy and allow yourself to feel your own energy, because most of the time we're just disconnected, our minds from our bodies, and we don't feel as well, and that's why we're so stressed. And for those people who have some kind of a meditative practice, it's a reminder that it's good to do that, and maybe they don't need to do that specific exercise, it's up to them. But for many people like myself who've never done anything like that, it's just a very simple introduction. And we found that all our test subjects and the people who've been buying the sweaters have done it, and everyone's really finding it useful. And a reminder that you need to be mindful in your life. It helps. And the first thing we do in the morning, one of the first things is to get dressed. So instead of putting our clothes on, what we're thinking about, all we've got to do and running out the door, just sit down for a few minutes and be calm and get yourself into a good mindset before you set off. And set an intention for the day. Right, today I would like to feel calm. Today I would like to feel confident. Instead of just running out the door and seeing what life throws at you, to actually take your power back a little bit.